Hello friends, welcome to this video. I am Rohit. Hope you are doing great. Friends, in today's video we are going to understand topic getting current location of user. Now in today's video, what topics we are going to cover, let's try to see. First of all, we will try to understand the introduction regarding how to get current location of user and its importance. Then next to that, we will see what overall steps we need to go through in order to retrieve the current location of user. Then next to that, we will understand location manager class and its use. Next to that, we will understand location listener interface and its various methods. As well, we will try to understand how we can write code or how we can implement this location listener interface. Then after that, we will understand how to get the last known location of user. Then we will understand the difference between find location and coarse location. So in this topic, two types of permissions we are going to understand. One is find location and another one is coarse location. So we supposed to know difference between them. That's why in detail we will understand the comparison of find location permission and coarse location permission. And at the end of video we will see one practical example. So in that example, on button click within the activity, we will try to retrieve the current location of user in form of latitude and longitude. Now let's try to dive into video by understanding the introduction regarding getting current location of user. Now friends, obtaining the current location of user is a fundamental aspect nowadays in many modern mobile applications. So in our daily life, we might have experienced many applications are asking us to access our current location, and based on that they are trying to display contents to us. So for example, Google Map may be there, food delivery applications may be there, or many other applications that are using our current location for targeting various contents to us. So for what purpose these applications are accessing our current location? So based on that, they may find the nearby places, they may suggest us nearby places, or they may use the current location for providing us the personalized recommendations, or the current location may be used for enhancing the user experience with location based services. Contents may be suggested to you, or the advertisement may be shown to you, or it may be used for many purposes, or the current location may be used for displaying your current position on map applications. So for all these reasons, accessing users' current location is important. So accessing users' current location plays a very important role in the functionality of modern applications. So food delivery applications may be there, map based applications may be there, or social media related applications may be there. They require to access the current location of user. So in Android development, applications can access the current location of user using the built-in location service of the Android operating system. So in this built-in location service, the Android may use GPS, that is Global Positioning System, Wi-Fi, cellular network, or combination of all these various technologies for providing current location of user. So based on the requirement like approximate current location or precise current location, we may use these different technologies to retrieve the current location of user. Now by utilizing all these appropriate APIs and permissions provided by Android framework, developers can accurately determine the device geographical coordinates like latitude, longitude. So based on which we will be able to determine the current location of user. So here the process of determining users current location starts with the requesting permissions to the user for accessing their device location. Now friends, as we knew, in Android there is a Android security model according to which the application cannot access the sensitive data of user directly. So location is also a very sensitive and private data of user, which application cannot access directly. So in order to access it, application needs to request permission to the user. So if user granted the permission, then and then only application can access user's current location. Otherwise, application cannot access user's current location. So if we assume user granted permission to the application for accessing current location, then we may use location manager or more modern API like focus location provider client for retrieving user's current location. So friends, these two ways you try to remember for retrieving current location of user. So in the context of this video, we are going to understand how to retrieve the current location of user using location manager. The application receives the location update, then the application will load the content dynamically, will update the GUI component dynamically based on the current location. So for example, what it can do, so it can display the nearby points of user's interest, it may calculate the distance, it may use that current location for geotagging user generated content like photographs, or it may deliver the targeted contents to the user based on his current location like advertisement. So depend on user's location, advertisements can be targeted. So all these are various and generalized examples for which applications can use current location of user. So while using this current location feature within the application, developer must consider various factors like battery consumption, accuracy requirement, that already I told, whether approximate accuracy required or precise accuracy required, and it also supposed to consider users' privacy while designing such type of location related features within the applications. So friends, this was the introduction regarding retrieving current location of the user. Now let's try to move further and understand what overall steps we are going to follow in order to retrieve the current location of user. The first step, we have permission check. Now already in the intro we have discussed, before accessing user's current location, application must need to request permission to the user for accessing its location. So there are two types of permissions regarding retrieving the current location. One is known as access find location and another one is known as access coarse location. So at the end of this discussion in detail, we are going to understand the difference between these two permissions. So any of this permission or both of this permission we may request to the user, and depend on what kind of accuracy our application require, we may request any of this permission or both of these permissions to the user. So in our application we will check if permissions are already granted or not by using this check self permission method. So in practical we are going to implement this method in which we will check whether permissions are already granted or not. If not, then we will request user to grant the permission using this request permission method. So very first step in retrieving the current location is permission check, and two permissions you remember: access find location and access coarse location. Both we are going to specify within the Android manifest file. Now let's move to the second step. So second step is initialization of the location manager. So we will use this location manager class for interacting with the system's location service. So we may initialize this location manager class using the get system service method, and this method requires the parameter, that is the location service, which is the constant within the context class. So in detail we are going to see this syntax here. Just you understand the second step, location manager initialization, and for that get system service is a method. Now third step we have location listener. So after initializing the location manager we have to implement the location listener interface. So this interface contains the method like on location change. So in this method we will be able to retrieve the latitude and longitude of user. So there are other methods as well that we will see further within this video regarding location listener, where we will be able to perform a different task. Now next step is register for getting the location updates. So here we will register location listener with the location manager that we have created using method request location updates. So for this method we have to specify the location provider, like GPS provider may be there or network provider may be there. So in GPS provider we will use GPS system to get users current location, whereas in the network provider we will use the cellular towers for getting users location. Then next to that we also have to specify the minimum interval time between getting the location updates. Then we also have to specify minimum distance between updates, and last parameter we have to give the object of location listener that we have created. So as per the parameters you have specified, the system will be able to deliver the location updates to your application. The next step we have handling location updates. So in this method, that is on location change, we will receive the new location as a parameter. So we may use that parameter for retrieving latitude and longitude of the user, and based on that we may perform certain tasks within our application, like we may update GUI, we may calculate distance, or we may do so many other things based on current location of user. The next step we have permission handling. So once we request user for granting the permission, so what action user will perform, like allowing or denying, based on that we will be able to handle user's response within this on request permission result method. So if user grants permission, we will start listening to the location updates, and if user denies permission, then we will display toast message to the user that accessing location is denied. So application cannot fetch the current location of user. So this is the permission handling. So if user allow to access current location, you will get location update. Otherwise you will notify user that application cannot access current location. Then next step we have getting the last known location of the user. So there is a method called get last known location. So this method returns the most recently obtained location from any provider like GPS provider or network provider, and it is useful for providing initial location of user, or it is also useful whenever we do not require real-time location updates. So just once we have to get the user's location, later on we don't need any real-time updates of the user's location. In that case, this method is useful. And last step we have, where we will try to unregister our location listeners by using method remove updates. So location listener will stop listening and it will not consume our battery and other system resources. So these are the overall steps in accessing current location of a user. So overall, if you observe, obtaining current location of user involves requesting permissions, initializing location manager, registering location manager, handling location updates, and managing permissions. So how user is responding to granting permission, based on that you have to make decision. So these are overall steps that you can consider while getting the current location of user. So it is essential, it is important to handle permissions properly, as well as developer must consider the battery usage that will be done by these location services, and also keep in mind the consideration of accuracy and in what frequency the updates of location should be received. So all these are important points developer must note while implementing such location related services within the applications. Now next point, we will try to understand location manager class and its use. So location manager class is used for providing access to the system's location service, which allow application to retrieve the current location of user. It also helpful to retrieve the last known location of the devices, as well as for registering and retrieving location related updates. So this is an important class which we will use whenever we will design applications that will use location based services. Now let's try to see the fundamental concepts regarding location manager class. First concept, we have initialization of location manager class. So as in the intro we have seen, so here we are going to use get system service method for initialization of location manager class. Now see the syntax. Location manager, here we are creating object lm is equal to get system service, and we have to specify the context dot location service, and whatever result this method will return, we have to typecast this result into type location manager, because lm is of type location manager. That's why there is a typecasting of location manager. So this is how we will initialize our location manager class. So once location manager class is initialized, we may check permissions. Now as in the intro as well as in steps we have seen, we must have to ask user to grant permission for accessing his device current location. So here we will check whether the permissions are granted or not. If not, then we are going to request that permission. Now this is the snippet of code that we are going to use for checking whether permissions are granted or not. Now see here, if activity compat is a class which has one method called check self permission. Now this check self permission requires two parameters, the current context and the permission which you want to check whether it is granted or not, and how you are checking it. So as you knew, permissions are specified within the manifest file, so that's why we are writing here manifest dot permission. And which permission we are checking here? access find location, and if it is not granted, so we are checking it. If it is not granted, so we are checking package and manager dot permission granted, and here we are using this not equal to. So if this access find permission is not granted, and another permission also we are checking, that is access coarse location. So if these both permissions are not granted, then what we are doing here, we are requesting permission. So this method requires three parameters. First parameter is the current context. Second parameter, the permissions that you want to request. So for example, it is a string array in which we may specify multiple permissions, and next to that, this is a request code. So this request code we are going to use for comparing our request. You may create constant at the top of your class, or directly here you may specify the request code like this. And after that, we are specifying this return statement. So this return statement is very important. Why we are specifying return statement? So here our code will get paused till user respond. So you might have seen within many applications, so one small pop-up appears on our screen which is asking us that this application wants to access specific permission, and there are two buttons, allow and deny. So until user respond with allow or deny, our code will get paused. It will wait for user's response. That's why there is a return statement, and based on user's response we will be able to do further things. Okay, so this is how the code for checking permissions we will place within our Java. Then next to that, how we are going to request the location updates. So once we receive the permission from user, we may use request location update method for retrieving the location related updates. Now this method requires some parameters like location provider. Now here friends, you see we are using GPS provider, which is more accurate, which is more precise. Then next to that, this specifies the minimum time interval between updates. Then this specifies the minimum distance in meters between updates, and last is your location listener objects. So these all parameters we have to specify to this request location update method, and we have to invoke this method with help of location manager object. We will move further now and we will try to understand next very important concept, location listener interface. Now friends, there are two concepts we will employ within our program. One is location manager that just we have seen, and another one is location listener interface. Now let's try to understand now this interface and its methods. So this interface is used for receiving notifications from the location manager whenever there is a change in the location. So this interface provides various callback methods which handles various events regarding location update. So let's try to see the first method. First method name is on location change. Now this is very important method. So this method will be invoked or called whenever new location will be available. And as you can see, this method has one parameter, that is the object of location class. So this location class has a method through which we will be able to retrieve the latitude and longitude of the user. So this method we are going to implement within our example. Then second method we have on status change. It has three parameters, the provider, status, and this object of bundle class, that is extras. So this method is invoked whenever there is a change in the status of location provider. So it provides the information regarding provider whose status is changed. So it will contain the information regarding new status, and if there is any additional data, it will be available within the object of bundle class. So to determine the availability of location provider, this method can be used. Then next method we have on provider enable, and it has one parameter, that is the provider. So this method will be invoked whenever specific location provider will be enabled, and this indicates that specific location provider is available for retrieving the location updates. So if you want to perform any task whenever this provider will be enabled, then you may use this method. Then there is next method, last method, on provider disable. So this is contrast to the previous method. So this method will be invoked whenever location provider will be disabled. So whenever the location provider will not be available to retrieve the location updates, then this method will get invoked. So you may perform again certain task whenever location provider will be unavailable or it will be disabled. So these are the methods of location listener interface. Now let's try to see the example how we will implement location listener. So here you see location listener, and this is the object, and in the new location listener we are implementing all these methods. So first method is on location change. You can see this is the parameter to it, and through the location object we may use method get latitude, get longitude, and we may store them within these variables, and we may use now toast message to display this latitude, longitude, and based on that we may do certain task. Then here the next method we have status change. So whenever there is a change in the status of location provider, you may handle that particular task here. Then next you have provider enabled. So whenever location provider is enabled, you may handle that condition here. And last method, whenever provider will be disabled, that related task you may handle here. So like this, all these various methods you can implement in the location listener interface. Now we will move further and understand how to retrieve the last location of user. So for retrieving last location of user, get last known location. So how you will use this method, this is the example, location, last known location, this is the object, and we will use location manager to call this get last location method. It requires one parameter, that is the provider. So here I am using GPS provider. So this object will contain the last location. So get latitude, get longitude, these methods I may call with help of this object. So I will be able to get the last known location of the user. So these are all fundamental concepts. Now we are reaching to the end of our discussion, where we have to understand the difference between find location and coarse location. So friends, as we discuss, in order to retrieve the current location of user, we require to understand two permissions: access find location and access coarse location. So what is difference between them? Now we will try to understand. So first concept we have find location. Now what is its definition? So find location permission. Now how you will specify it? So access underscore find underscore location. This is the way to specify find location permission. Grants access to the precise location, and this specifically using GPS for giving or for retrieving current location of user. Now if you try to talk about accuracy, so this gives you more accuracy within few meters usually, and where this find location will be useful. So this type of location access will be useful for fitness tracker applications, navigation related applications, geotagging, photos. augmented reality applications, and location based services. Now if you try to talk about battery consumption, it consumes more battery as compared to coarse location due to continuous uses of GPS. Then if you try to talk about user experience, so user will get more better experience in the application whenever application will use precise location. So more accurate and more targeted result application will be able to show to the user. So this is the first permission we have, access find location permission, so which is using GPS and which is more accurate. Now second, we have coarse location. Now this coarse location permission is specified with access underscore coarse underscore location, and this provides access to the approximate location, and it is based on the cell towers of our cellular network. So if you try to talk about accuracy, so the location data that is retrieved with this coarse location is having less precision as compared to find location, and this is giving accuracy within the 100 meters to the few kilometers. And now let's try to see where this type of permission will be useful. So this type of permission will be suitable where we require approximate location. Precise location is not compulsory, like weather applications, local search service applications, location based advertisements, region specific content delivery. So in all such type of applications you may prefer coarse location. Battery consumption, if we try to compare to the find location, it consumes less battery, so as it is not continuously using GPS. And if you try to talk about users experience, so as compared to find location, here accuracy is slightly less, that's why user may not get the very appropriate content. So this is the difference between find location and coarse location. Now next to that, last point we have, what various factors we supposed to consider while choosing access location or find location. Now if you have accuracy requirement, then you go for find location, and if you require less accuracy like approximate location will be fine, then you go for coarse location. Then if you try to talk about battery consumption, so if you select the find location, then it will consume more battery but it will give more accurate location, and if you choose coarse location, then it will consume less battery. Then regarding users privacy, find location permission grants more precise location of user, so which may lead to the privacy concerns regarding user. So while accessing these locations, our application must follow the privacy guidelines and user consents. And last point, we have functionality. So while keeping the user experience goal in mind, you're supposed to select the specific permission. So if accuracy is more important, then you may choose find location, otherwise you may choose coarse location. So these are all the fundamental concepts regarding retrieving users' current location. Now friends, we will go to Android Studio and we will try to implement one example. So example is very simple. There will be one button in our activity, and on click of this button we will display the current location of user in form of latitude and longitude. So we will use toast message to display that. You may use text view as well to display this latitude and longitude. Now I will take you to the Android Studio where I have already created this project. Now let's try to modify now our GUI. So here first of all I will change this text view. and next to that let's try to specify and I'm going to change the color. Now see how it is looking. Okay, now next to that one button we will place here at the center of our screen. Okay, and to this button we will specify text, get location. Now friends, here our GUI is completed. Now we will go to Java file. Now here at the top of our file, first of all we will specify the location manager and location listener object. So location manager and location listener object. So first of all we will create the object of location manager. So location manager, and let's say object will be location manager. Next to that we will specify the object of location listener. So location listener, and we will have object location listener. Then next to that I am going to specify the object of button, that is B1. Now let's try to fetch the reference for B1. So B1 is equal to button, find view by id, r.id.button. Let me check the id of button. Okay, correct. Now next to that we will now initialize our location manager here. So let's try to initialize, as we discussed in the theory, initialize the location manager class here. So for that I am going to write here our object name location manager is equal to, I am going to use get system service method, and in this we will specify context dot location service. Now friends, you can see this red underline. So this red underline is displayed because we have not typecasted the result. So here we will specify location manager. So now whatever result this method will return, it will get typecasted into type of this location manager object. Now next to that we will specify now location listener. So here we will use now location listener. Now in order to use location listener, I am going to write the object name of our location listener is equal to new location listener. And now as you can see, it has provided this method on location change. Now this method has a parameter called location, which is object of location class. Now here we are going to specify that logic to display current location of user. Now as we discuss, we can use method called get latitude and get longitude. So simply here I may write one toast message. So toast dot make text current context, then here I will specify latitude is plus I may use here location dot get latitude plus I will use slash in here, so it will display it on next line. Longitude is and here you can see method. Okay, and last parameter we have to specify the duration for our toast. So we will write toast dot length long and we will call it with show method. Now in this way we have specified the latitude and longitude, and here we will specify semicolon. Now friends, here you may specify other methods as well if you want of this location listener. So here if I try to show you, this is the location listener interface, and here you can see these methods: on status change, on provider enable, on provider disable. Okay, and here it is our method on location change. Now next to this, on button click now, we are going to check permissions. If permissions are not granted, then we will ask user to grant permission. So for that purpose now we will write d1 dot set on click listener new view on click listener, and now here we will write that if block logic. So here we will write if our class name is activity compat dot check self permission, and two parameters. So first parameter is the current context, so main activity dot this, and second parameter is the permission. So I will write android dot manifest dot permission dot, and here we will specify access find location. If it is not equal to package manager dot permission granted. So this is the first permission we are checking, and one more permission we have to check. So for that purpose again I will write activity compat dot check self permission. So first parameter main activity dot this, second parameter I will write android dot manifest dot permission dot access coarse location. Is not equal to package manager dot permission granted. here our condition completes. So if permissions are not granted, then we are going to request this permission. So for that we will write activity compat dot request permission. First parameter is the current context and second parameter is basically the string array which may contain multiple permissions. So new string and in pair of curly brackets we will specify android dot manifest dot permission dot. So I am going to use here find location, and next to that we have to specify the request code. So any request code you may specify, like 4 I am specifying here, and at last we will specify the return statement. So here return statement will pause our code execution till user respond. Now based on whether user allow or deny, further actions we will be able to take. And if permissions are already granted, then here we are going to request the current location. So for that I will use location manager object dot request location updates, and it requires 4 parameters. So first parameter is the provider. So GPS provider we are going to use, as find location we are using. So here I will use location manager dot GPS provider. Second parameter, the time in milliseconds in which you want to retrieve the updates. Then the distance in meters, 0 we will specify. And last parameter is the location listener. So let's specify the object of our location listener like this. Now friends, here it is showing this red underline to this statement because we have not added permissions within our manifest file to this location update. So we will go to manifest file, and here we will specify 2 permissions. So first permission, uses permission, and here we will specify find location. Another permission we will specify coarse location. Okay, now you can see the error is gone. So friends, this was code on our button click listener. So in this code, first of all we are checking permissions are granted or not. If not, then we are requesting permission to the user. If permission are granted already, then we will retrieve the current location using this request location update method. Now this method will lead to invoke this onChange method of location listener, which will display this toast message with latitude and longitude. Now last thing in the program is remaining, that is implementing the on request permission result method. So for that we will write it here public void, and here we will write on request permission result. It requires first parameter request code, second parameter string permissions, and third parameter the integer array grant results. And here we will implement this method now. So we will add super call to this method, super dot on request permission result, so that red line error is gone. And now next to this, first of all we will check our request code. So if request code is equal to what request code we had specified, so here 4 is our request code. So I will write here, if request code is 4, then here we will implement one more if block where we will check the length of grant result. So if the length of this grant result is greater than 0, means permission is granted, and the grant result of 0, that is first element is permission granted, constant of package manager. So package manager dot permission granted. Then we will check now again if access find location permission is granted or not. So for that we will use activity compat dot check self permission. Again same method we are going to use, main activity dot this. Then here we will use android dot manifest dot permission dot access find location is equal to package manager dot permission granted. So if user has given access find location permission, then we will try to retrieve the location update. So again I am going to use location manager dot request location update, and first parameter is provider. So location manager dot GPS provider, second parameter 0 0, and last parameter location listener. So here will be location listener object. So this was the if, and now we will write else part. So if user denied, so we will simply display toast message, toast dot make text main activity dot this, and we will tell user that permission is denied, permission denied, can't access location, and length will be long dot show. So friends, here our code completes. In this method, first of all we are checking the request code. If request code is 4 that we have specified, then we are checking the length of this grant result array if it is greater than 0, and if first element of this array is permission granted, then we are checking whether access find permission is granted or not. So if it is granted, then we will retrieve the location again, else we will display this toast message to the user. This is how the logic for this method we have implemented. Now friends, here our code completed. Now let's try to look what we have done since so far in this code, because code was little bit lengthy. So at the top, first of all, we have created location manager and location listener object, and of course button object. Then here we have initialized the location manager using get system service method. Then we have implemented the location listener and its method on location change. This method has a parameter, that is object of location, and this object can be used for calling two methods. First method is get latitude and second method is get longitude, and we are using it for displaying users current location with toast. Then in the button click listener, we are checking the permissions. So here we are using the check self permission method of activity compat class. This method requires two parameters, the current context and the permission you want to check. So here we are checking that permission, if permission is not granted. So here access find location and access coarse location, these both permissions are not granted, then we are requesting the permission and we are using this return statement. So it will wait for user's response, and if permissions are granted, then we will retrieve the current location. So here we are using request location update method. So it needs the provider, the time, the distance and location listener, and this is on request permission result. So what response user will give, based on that the further action we are trying to decide here. So if permission is granted, then we are requesting current location. If not, then in else part we are showing this permission denied. So like this we have implemented and written our code, and in a manifest file these two permissions we have specified. So find location and coarse location. Now here our code completed, and now we will run our code. So for that, now I will connect my mobile phone. So friends, I have connected my mobile phone, and now we will run our application. So here the Gradle build started. Now it is launching app. So we will tab on install. We will tab on get location. Now friends, we can see here it is asking us to access our device location. So we will tab on allow, and now if I tab on get location again, so we will be able, so we can see here it is showing the current location in form of latitude and longitude. Now one more thing we will show you, if we deny permission then what it will do. So for that purpose I will go to the properties of this application, and next to that we will go in app permissions, and now I will disable this permission, and again we will launch the app, and now again it will ask us. Now I will tab on deny. Now we can see the message permission denied, can't access location. So like this it will work. If we tab on button again, now I will tab on allow, and again if I tab on get location, so depend on network speed, it may take little time to retrieve the current location, and you can see now it is displaying my current location like this. So friends, this is how we have implemented the program and we have understood the theory regarding retrieving current location of user. So friends, if you find this video useful, please like and share this video. If you are new to our channel, please subscribe this channel. Thank you for watching. I will see you in next video.